topics based around Web3. Sometimes they are DAO focused. Last week there was a metaverse focus, which went extra long because there was so much to unpack in an hour. And today we're going to try and do the same thing. Brands in Web3 is this week's topic. So towards the end of the show, if you have a question, feel free to either come up, or if during the show you want to pose a question, on the top right of your screen, if you're on your phone, there's three dots. If you hit those three dots, you can click View Event Details, and then you can comment any questions. I'll be doing my best to moderate the conversation whilst looking at that. Feel free to ask those. I know some people are traveling, some people are getting their morning coffee, some people are getting ready for bed. So whatever that is for you, I hope you are having a beautiful day. Ivan, let's kick it off with yourself before we go into any intros. Let's jump in.
Yeah, look, I mean, I've enjoyed all of the sessions that we've had in the last few months, but this particular one's really, I guess, powerful for me personally. I think that a lot of people have had a hell of a time getting their head around Web3, and the sort of conversations that I've had with yourself, Daniel, even Ridley, about how we tackle this new tech into mainstream is probably the biggest thing that we want to do in the next few months as a business, and just so we can remove all the friction from all of the sort of tech talk and miss the fact that ultimately we're here to onboard people for a better experience. And the thing that I would like to see happen in the next little while is how brands can start to really get their heads around having engagement with their audience, because I've seen it and we all have seen everyone sort of neglect their websites for social, and social is fantastic. So then you realise that you don't own that audience, and it becomes a major problem. So I think Web3 is going to really solve that problem for a lot of people. But listen, I'll jump in again later, mate. I'll let you sort of intro some people, Daniel, and we'll go from there.
Let's do it. So the way the conversation is going to work, we're going to go around with the speakers first. Speakers, it's a conversation, so feel free to jump in. If Ridley mentions something and you want to interject, just add in a clapping emoji or maybe another emoji or interject. It's not an interview style where I want to go boringly around each and every single person. Let's make it fun. Let's debate. Let's challenge each other. Let's talk around how we can all utilize brands and Web3 within the current brands, and within each of yours. You guys have a variety from AR to some people that are doing watches and sports. Everyone's coming from a different background, so I'm keen to dive into that. Let's give it a 30-second intro for, one, what you're excited about, I guess, within your current works, what you're working on, and then two, how you're seeing brands in Web3. I'll go around with Beth, Ridley, Rafael, and then Akash, just based off the order I see everyone. Beth, we'll kick it off with yourself, an intro, and then what you're excited about in brands in Web3. Let's do it.
Hey, so firstly, thanks for having me on. Delighted to be invited to speak. So I work for a firm powering the future of e-commerce. We create virtual experiences, virtual stores for brands kind of looking to take their brand experience and offering to the next level. No headsets required for these kind of spaces. They just are embedded into the e-commerce website. But they are enhancing customer experience, enabling personalization. The amount of data collected is absolutely insane. Brands can use it to really, really enhance that experience that they're providing. And I'm so excited about where Web3 is going. I do think there are challenges in terms of mass adoption. We will probably get onto those later. But yeah, really excited to be here, loving the industry, and we're working on some really exciting projects.
Lovely, thanks for that. I'll throw it to Ridley and then Rafael.
Yeah, hi everyone. Dan and Ivan, good to catch up again and jump into the space here and have a chat about brands and Web3. I think, as Beth said, it's a really exciting space, and over the last 14 or 15 months, in particular in my role at Tennis Australia as the Senior Manager of Metaverse, NFTs, Web3 and cryptocurrency, it's been a real journey of exploration, I think, is probably the best way to describe it. And the thing that I guess excites me the most is sort of I guess, creatively exploring this new frontier of technology that is now moving faster than we've ever seen technology move before. We're literally living in this 24/7, 365 world that is evolving at a pace that we've never seen before. I think you can wake up tomorrow and there's some new AI invention or a rival to ChatGPT, or there's some new metaverse coming in, and it's just moving so quickly, and actually trying to keep up with what's going on amongst all the noise is probably one of the big challenges. But I think we're going through this sort of exploration in creativity, and it's a lot of fun to sort of work through the challenges that we see. It, as Beth said as well, there's an onboarding issue, there's UX challenges, there's all sorts of I guess hurdles that we have to jump over in progressing this space. So where we go in the future is anyone's guess, but I think what we can do is have a great discussion tonight about what's been happening over the last little while and where we all see brands playing a big part in this space.
Great, thanks Ridley. Rafael.
Hello guys, thank you for inviting me to this space. Looks like it's the grown-up space, LinkedIn. I did some Twitter spaces on the past, and LinkedIn is the first time. Really nice. Thank you for inviting me. I'm a watch designer. I have been designing watches since 2006. I opened a brand. I created my own brand in Switzerland in 2011, and since then I'm selling watches in Web2, right? Shop, e-commerce. I'm doing the marketing. It's a one-man show. I do like 500 to 1,000 watches a year. Retail price is $1,500, $2,000. And I entered the Web3 space in January last year. Before that, I was selling watches and accepting crypto since 2017. So even if the watches are very classic, luxury watches, like with mechanical movements, no smart watches, nothing like that, but real Swiss-made watches with automatic movements, mechanical movements. I'm selling them through using crypto since 2017, and last year, January, I started my journey in Web3. So I created the NFTs that represent the watches, a collection of 1,100 NFTs with 120 trades that's mixed up and create 1,100 different watches. And this is a membership to the Watch Design Club that we're going, if you're a holder, we design a watch together and we produce it in real life and it will be sold in real life, and 10% of all the sales will go back to holders as a cash check. So it's not a security. So the sales of in real life watches go back to the holders as a cash check, 10% of all the sales for 2023. Besides, the NFTs have 10% of an award, kind of like you can get in real life watch if you get one of the awarded tokens. And this is the beginning of the Web3 journey. I have the metaverse twins of the watches in the Decentraland and a virtual showroom in a spatial, and this pretty much brief resume of what we are doing in Web3. We are using also AI to help the holders to design the new watch. So the community will get watch design with the community and AI. And this will be produced as next year. This year we have the NFTs that are in minting stage right now. If anyone is interested, the brand is called DWISS, DWISS, like Swiss with a D, starting with D instead of the S. And I'm following everything that the people are creating in Web3 space, especially the brands, because I'm a brand as well. So, yeah, it's pretty much that. I'm glad you guys invited me to this space.
Thanks, Rafael. I'm keen to hear your thoughts on AI, digital. We're going to get into those topics. I know Beth has a a detailed experience in AR as well. So Akash, jump in, and then we'll go to Paula.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me here today. And before I go in, I think, Rafael, I'm going to stand in the line to get that NFT. You're promising 10% of your sales. That's pretty huge for the community, I'm sure. All right. So guys, my name is Akash. I've had 2 avatars. So in the first, I was working for about 16 to 17 years, basically with Sony, Nike, and Walmart, leading brand and marketing and business for these great brands. In the last couple of years, I've been into consulting, so I'm a growth consultant. Stumbled upon blockchain in 2018, learned a little about that. And then when NFTs started hitting in 2021, coming from a business background and with a little understanding of blockchain, I was able to, make that connect immediately in terms of, what brands could really do with this amazing technology and the tokens that were coming out. So that really got me excited and got me started into this journey. So now what I do is my intent and my entire mission right now is to help brands actually make the journey from Web 2 to Web 3. So what it really involves and what we've just heard right now from Ridley and Beth also. But these are very, very early days. There's a lot of hype. There's also a lot of misinformation actually that's going on. And things are changing very, very fast. So every day you wake up in the morning, there's something new which has come out. And that is what actually is challenging on one side, which also pushes people back in terms of, where they need to be at or where they should be at today in terms of deciding their career journeys or their brand journeys. But then on the flip side is also that much more exciting. So that's what keeps me excited day in and day out. So I'm looking forward to a great conversation here. Let's go ahead. So thank you so much.
Let's do it. I thought lastly to you, Paula.
Hi guys, GM. Thanks a million for having me today. My name is Paula Marie Kilgarriff. I'm a Web3 brand activation strategist and a lecturer of blockchain and Web3 in the School of Business Technologies, Operations and Supply Chain in TU Dublin. So basically, I've been lecturing in e-commerce since 2003 and social media. And I remember my first class, my student said to me, "Oh, miss, who's going to buy a handbag off the internet using a credit card? And we could just go down to the shop." Or who is this Elon Musk? Or why would I put money in an email? So 20 years later, I'm still in the same university. I took 10 years out, though, to go to China for 10 years to work in new retail. So in China, when I was there, we were using AR and QR codes from 2010, cashless payments, etc. So I spent 8 years there working in new tech. And then I came back. I got involved in blockchain in 2016 and then came back into Ireland in 2018, where I started working with brands in Web3. So at the moment, I'm currently head of partnerships at Digital Twin, which is an on-demand sustainable fashion platform for influencers who want to create their own fashion designs. So basically, we make digital fashion NFTs or digital collectibles for influencers. And you can visit us at www.digitaltwin.io, where we have our first digital athleisure collection from Dr. Robin, who is a Instagram influencer. So basically, we've discovered a new retail model. We call it the direct-to-customer, but it's actually direct-to-influencer. So this is something that I'm working on at the moment. In my classes, I teach virtual pop-ups. I teach ChatGPT, DALL-E, all the creative AI applications. I've dumped all the Web 2 applications and moved over completely into Web 3. I do blockchain courses as well. So my students basically create Web 3 and metaverse activations for brands. So that's my jam. And thanks for having me.
Beautiful. Paul, I hope your students can keep up with you just as well as I did 10. You're talking incredibly fast. I love it.
I have a class of 10 guys, so I have to leave then. So just to let you know, they'd be looking for me at 10 thinking they're getting a free class, but they're not.
All right, let's do this. I'm keen to get into the show. I know Fidgetal has been mentioned many times. Just for a gauge on the audience, and so everyone hears me, as well as where this conversation will go, because at the end of the day, the best aim is to provide the best value to you, the person that is listening to this, as well as our speakers, and having a healthy conversation. So in saying that, the bottom right, there is a react button. If you would like to learn more around Fidgetal, hit the heart button. If you would like to learn more of adoption of Web3 as a brand, hit the clapping emoji. So Fidgetal for love heart, clapping for adoption as a brand. I see a lot of love hearts. I see a few love hearts, clapping. All right, let's get into adoption as a brand early. Let's kick off with Beth. I'm keen to start this conversation and roll around to digital. Now, keep in mind, some of the audience is deeply integrated into Web3. They're technical. They like getting their hands dirty. They're all across the new Bitcoin NFTs. But keep in mind, some people are quite new. So within terminology, explain why you guys started using and how you're seeing brands adopting Web3 today, not 6 months ago.
Sounds good. So I think, each brand is unique in kind of what they're setting out to achieve. We're working with a huge variety of different, at the moment, predominantly luxury retailers, but, some of them want to build a community. Some want to create a token-gated space that's, part of a loyalty program. Some want to just, drive sales. And so depending on what those KPIs are, will depend on the kind of format, the space, and what other Web3 tech sits within it. I guess one overarching benefit that most brands are seeing is to do with that whole brand experience. So virtual stores, virtual experiences, whatever you want to call them, immersive spaces are interactive. If it's a product, if it's a fashion store, retailer, like watch brand, products, customers can view products in 3D, explore them, interact. Really key in that product discovery phase. A lot of the e-commerce sites you see today, Web 2 versions, have 2D products. They're not very informative. I can't remember the stat, but Shopify reported that a huge number of people want to interact with the product before they purchase it. And so 360 degree technology that enables you to kind of almost like get a real deep look and feel for what the product's going to be before you purchase it is really aiding that experience. There are plenty of other ways in which that whole experience element is coming out. So, for example, personalization. With third-party data now far harder to get hold of, especially in the UK, with cookies, all of that kind of stuff, first-party data is pivotal. So with a virtual space, brands can track firsthand what people are exploring, what products they are looking at, what they're ignoring, where they're going, how many times they visit. And there's an awful lot of customer behavior that you can kind of keep track of and then use to further enhance your product offering. You can personalize the experience so that, why are they walking through a store that's got, male clothing on the racks, where from their customer account that they are 30, they're a female 30-year-old that loves, sport, let's say. And with that information and, knowing what products they are spending time exploring and things like that, you can really tailor the experience to you. And that convenience, tailored approach is what customers are after these days. I don't want to waffle on too much. Is there another speaker that wants to kind of add to any of this before I keep going? There's so much I can talk about.
Yeah, I can actually add on to that, Beth. You're dead right. It's kind of like I'm their customer. So when I go to Sephora.eat, I want to see my bra size. I'm not interested in other people's. So I like this whole idea of hyper-personalization in real time. Same thing when I visit, a hair shop. I want, blonde hair products for fine hair. So I definitely think customers, if in terms of people get upset with Web3, but even in terms of e-commerce, 3D modeling and offering that type of experience, it's a natural progression from e-commerce. So yes, I want, AR to be able to try on Gucci AR shoes. I want that hyper-personalization in real time, regardless whether I'm in a metaverse, on an app, or in an IRL activation.
Totally.
No, jumping, Beth.
I was just going to say, on your point around AR and fitting, trying on clothes, AR is so powerful, and I think virtual fitting is definitely the future for e-commerce brands. I think there's teething issues. It's how realistically would you try on a t-shirt without putting your phone on your kind of sideboard or on the mantelpiece and taking a step back to see it? There's no way you can really hold it in selfie mode and view yourself in it unless you have an avatar or upload your image. So I think there's there's a slight challenge that brands need to get over in that sense. I came across it a few weeks ago. There's a brand that's kind of just launched in the space called Sizer, or they haven't just launched, but I've just come across them. And they're effectively a tech firm that embed themselves into websites and have created a virtual sizing system. So you mentioned bras, for example. It's got a 97% accuracy rate at scanning people 5 steps away from their phone virtually and enabling, there to be a suggestion of a product that's going to fit them. What does that do? It increases the suitability of the product. More suitable product, less returns. More suitable product, more customer satisfaction, higher customer satisfaction rates mean potentially more retention, all of that kind of stuff. I think the virtual fitting space is huge and there is so much opportunity in it.
Yeah, I think the idea of hyper-personalization that you mentioned, Beth and Paula, is extremely important. And I'd love to take this from both spectrums. One, Rafael, who's built a startup, you mentioned all on your own, doing everything from marketing, on how you were able to get your customer, which is now the new term community, to onboard into your project. And then Ridley, who's on the other side of an established brand that can now adopt the use of AR, that can now adopt the use of metaverse. Rafael, how did you first go about it? How are you going about adopting new users now as a brand in Web3?
Yeah, I first started with Web2, in crowdfunding projects. Crowdfunding is a big hit, building communities, with Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and these crowdfunding platforms. So I think a lot came from that. Before entering the Web3, you can create a huge community with people that want to develop a product with you. And I did that in 2016, 2018. And building the Web3 was pretty much kind of the same, but with a different platforms. So I was using Twitter to post about my project, trying to talk to people who like watches and NFTs, and I create a Discord server where people can join in and talk about the watches. Pretty much it's like people who like watches and NFTs. That's not a huge amount of people yet, because mostly people who like luxury watches are not into much technology, I think, and the other way out, right? And people who like a lot of NFT maybe are not using watches, mechanical watches, but smart watches and things like that. So I build this community. It's really hard to build a community, but I think it's more organically talking to people, coming to spaces and sharing ideas, I was sharing the designs, pictures of the watches, assembling the watches, and all this. All I can do with the watch and reproducing it also as a digital twin, right, in the metaverse. So I was walking around in Decentraland with the watch, with a T-shirt with the watch, and really trying to build a connection in real life and in the metaverse and the community on the web. So pretty much I was in Twitter and trying to bring people to Discord and doing kind of collaboration with other brands and projects that were going to mint or minting their own NFT or people building in the metaverse. I think I create the community in this way, pretty much organic. I try to use some promoters and influencers, but in Web3, pretty much 110% are scams. So you need to build yourself, right? Because the influencers I try to use, you're just taking money and using bots to like and retweet. And this stuff is really bad. Web2 worked a little bit for influencers on Instagram, that they post picture of product. But in Web3 it's really hard. And now that the grown-ups are in Web3, not only the DJs, I think that things are getting more serious, right? Because in the past was just like a lot of scams and people trying to make a quick buck. And now people see that the brands and big brands are seeing that this is real thing. It's happening. So they are coming in. So things are getting serious now. And but still, to build a community is really hard yet because the adoption is quite slow. And
hey guys, I'm just going to jump. Sorry, man, I'm just going to jump in. I mean, just to sort of bounce off what you were saying and something that was mentioned earlier. 'Cause a lot of the sentiment, particularly from my lens anyway, the last 12 months was about taking Web 2 into Web 3, and to be honest, that's a near impossible task. Tell me what the day you've met someone and you've tried to explain what a DAO is or an NFT or tokenomics or crypto. It's impossible. And if we keep beating our heads against a brick wall, who's the idiot? Well, it's us. So from my perspective at Pixelboss, what we're doing is the complete opposite. We are now building our entire agency and our offering to take Web 3 to Web 2. And what that means is removing the friction, removing all of the technical jargon, and really focusing on the UX of the consumer. That's mass adoption skills right there. And I know a few of us in this room have been talking about that. And to me, that's the challenge for everyone else, because you've got a lot of one-eyed people that are Web3, and I've seen a few people downstairs probably rolling their eyes, but they have successfully onboarded a community in Web3 for Web3. But mass adoption isn't that, So I think it goes back to that old school thinking of knowing your audience. Like if you have a product or a service that is going to sit in that Web3 native sort of degen, early adopter mindset and embrace it, that's great. But in my heart and soul, I believe that's 5% of the community. And we really want to look at talking to that 95%. So when we are looking at NFTs, it's no longer an NFT, it's a membership, it's a loyalty program. And then you can show them the shopping list of all the benefits, the upside of being able to create fractional ownership, royalties, reward early adopters. There's some that have certain scarcities that get a trip overseas. There's others that just get lots of things. There's lots of really beautiful things that's going to turn the loyalty membership program on its head when all that plays out. And some people have already proved that model. But anyway, I'll pass it back to you, Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, Rafael, you mentioned it perfectly. In regards to going to market, you had to use a completely different strategy. And for anyone that doesn't know completely in Web3, you can't go to market the same with influencers posting it on Instagram, clicking a link and someone purchasing it. It doesn't work that way. You have to go through Twitter, Discord.
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean,
yes.
just like 1 second. I try to, when I was building the community, I was going to Web3. As I even said, it's only 5%. You need to get it 25% and explain to them. It's really hard. So it needs to be easy to use for them. You're completely right. And I try to build something that you can mint with a credit card. You don't need a wallet, but still very complicated people to understand it. Like you can mint with a credit card. You don't need a wallet, and you have the membership by holding the NFT. I have that on the website, but it's still very hard to explain. I don't know how to explain that to people that are not into Web3. Even if you build it, it's not enough, because even if it's easy to use, people still kind of afraid to use.
I'd love to hear from Ridley on how you went about that. Obviously, Tennis Australia, it's an already established brand. So then to re-educate, I guess, old users and then educate new people that are been exposed to Tennis Australia. How did you guys go about it and use collaboration?
Yeah, so when we
Ridley, did you hear that?
Kicked off the project, you dropped out for a little bit, but I think I've got the crux of it. When we first started the project 14 months ago, it was a natural progression for Tennis Australia to start exploring what this Web3 world was. And it literally started with an internal discussion of what are NFTs, what is Metaverse, and what is all this news that we're reading about it right now, and why are we not already involved? And for an organization that prides themselves on being innovative and creative, it was one of those moments where a few of us internally looked at each other and said, if we want to hang our hat on being innovative and creative as an organisation in not just sports and entertainment, we need to be innovating in tech as well, because sports and entertainment and tech and progression in that space all go hand in hand. And this is where I think the title of brands and Web3 is really important for people to understand that if that's what the conversation right now is about, then we need to be talking about why brands should be exploring Web3 or why they should be educating themselves in Web3. And it was exactly the mentality that we took was, all right, let's go straight down to the end of the Web3 path and see who's down the other end. And at that time, 14 months ago, it was everyone playing in Decentraland, metaverses, buying any NFT that went on the market. Crypto was flying. Everyone had plenty of liquidity. And we basically said, instead of trying to take a tennis fan into Web3 and build our product around that, let's build a product and take it to the Web3 fans and bring them to tennis. So it's kind of, I guess, echoing, go and find the audience that's out there and bring them back to you as a brand as well. And I think that has its difficulties and has certainly proven to have its difficulties over the last 12 months as we've gone through this bear market where everyone that was buying stuff 12 months ago is no longer buying because they've got no liquidity. That 5% is probably actually like 0.05%. And trying to find that needle in a haystack right now is really, really difficult. So, as Rafael said, the UX, and I think Ivan mentioned as well, the UX of Web3 right now is incredibly clunky. What we need to do is focus on now bringing a Web 2 audience up to more of a Web 2.5. And the way I look at it is Web 2 in the front, Web 3 in the back. Nobody needs to know that there's Web 3 running the back end of your project or what you're doing, but they should have a Web 2 experience at the front. And that allows us as a brand to talk to a total addressable market of 900 million people that engage with our brand every year as the AO. Right now, we're probably engaging with, 900 to 9,000 people who are deep into the Web3 space and literally are a needle in a haystack. So we're going through an exploration right now of how we reinvent our existing project, which can continue into the future and continue growing with more of a focus on a Web 2 audience and people who love tennis and actually giving them an opportunity to benefit from the use of the technology, even when they don't need to fully understand it or be aware of what's going on in the back end. They just need to understand how they can make a payment very easily, sign up for this membership and get benefit because of it. We need to think about that in a way that is not download a MetaMask, log into your Chrome, have a 12-word C phrase that you need to write in the back of your passport because if you lose it, you're going to lose all your money. Connect your wallet to this website. Is it the right website? Mint the product. Do you then buy it or sell it on OpenSea? What's the process? Who's the owner? Where do I go for help? What is Discord? I've never heard of Discord before. That's the questions that people are asking. And if they can't get past the first step of literally getting a MetaMask, you've lost them straight away. So we need to make the process as easy as signing up for a Netflix account, and you know exactly what you get. You pay your $10.99, it's probably $14.99 now or whatever it is, a month, and you get unlimited streaming on the platform through your TV. Done. Simple as that. That's where we need to get to if we want to progress it.
I just want to jump in, just to sort of lean into AO a little bit, and this is just my point of view, and for those that aren't aware of the product, I really encourage you to look into it purely based on what's come before. And I can talk about other sports and what they've done wrong, but what I've loved about AO is the fact that their project is very tied to real world utilities, and it's put them their holders at the heart of what they do. And that's really the part that I love about the project is that it has real utility, and that's to me where the bulk of this will move. There's always going to be a place for sort of, you know, PFP projects that are based on community being hyped up and or the right artists or there's always really good reasons why some things will go up, but most of those will just collapse. And then you look at, for example, and again, leaning into the brand part of this, something that I'm completely in love with what they've done is their brand partnership. So they've leveraged like all of their national, all their global partners into the project, or not all, but a lot of them. And what we'll see play out, that from the little I know, is some really great synergies on how the community, whether it be through an airline or a beer company or a sports company or a fashion brand, playing together to create those experiences, because it is all about creating experiences for the community. And that's something that I encourage people to look at anyway. And there's a lot more I'm sure Ridley can give you more insights in, but I just wanted to really lean back into I guess the positioning and the brand play.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to touch on something really hard hitting that everyone has mentioned, and it's the idea of onboarding new users. I'm definitely a degen myself, degen at heart, but I love building proper brand. And now, I mean, you look 12 months ago, if you were marketing, you have to market your NFTs to NFT people. You have to market your Web3 project, business to Web3 people. Now it's different. We've all established that, we're all in agreement of that. In understanding that, moving forward, today, in February of 2023, I'd love to hear from Akash and Paula, or open to the whole panel. How are you guys onboarding people today that is different to 6-12 months ago, to pointing the Discord, to getting the MetaMask? How are you onboarding people, new users, to your platform today?
Daniel, I'll quickly jump in. Actually, you know, what you guys said in terms of technology and other things, I think that really has been the barrier. So even when we look forward from here on, I think that is the hurdle that we all really need to cross, whether we're looking at it from a brand perspective, a project perspective, or as an individual who could help other people, you know, cross that barrier. So technology itself actually is very, very impersonal. But what Web3 actually is enabling is enabling brands to get into their storytelling with utilities, with money can't buy experiences, but with technology actually disappearing right into the background. And that is what we have seen, these brands that are riding right at the top. You look at Nike today, you look at Starbucks today. Where is technology in that? It's not up front. It has disappeared into the back. And that is where you're lowering the barriers for millions and millions to come in. And as Ridley said, you know, you don't want to set up a MetaMask. I struggled with it 2 years back trying to set it up myself. And then you've got to reconfigure it for different tokens that's going to accept. I mean, for the common man, for the one on the road, you don't really want him to go, or want your customer to go through that experience absolutely at all. So that really becomes important. And as you're looking forward, I think education becomes important when we want to create a whole lot of projects or encourage brands to understand and take that step into Web3 and what the opportunities are. So I think that is what we're trying to do in terms of looking forward as to how do we bring in the right kind of information, right kind of education to these people who are going to be making those strategic decisions in terms of, okay, is this the right time for me to enter? And if it is the right time, how do I even pick up the right things to enter into? So that again becomes very, very important. So how do you tie in with your brand DNA? How do you tie in with the values that you stand for as a brand really? So I think that piece is not going to go away for a long time. And I think that is where we need to focus on while building simple solutions for the customers.
I suppose in my experience, I have a parallel approach. Obviously, you know, I lecture those subjects, and also I'm involved with Digital Twin. And Digital Twin is a design platform. So basically we create on-demand clothing for influencers. So we're probably dancing in Web 2, Web 2.5. So if you go to our website, we just went live actually yesterday, and I was in LA last week, and I went to a couple of influencer parties, and I did a couple of demos during the party, and I gave them co-ops. And so it was really kind of, you know, educating Web 2 about why Web 3 is useful. But I didn't really mention Web 3. I mean, we don't even mention NFT digitals on our website. We call them digital collectibles. And, you know, you can pay with a credit card, and we use Shopify integration, Novel integration, which is not hardcore blockchain or Ethereum or anything like that. It's just an API that Web 2 brands can use to kind of move into Web 2.5, Web 3. So for us, really, it's just about having IRL parties, giving them little tutorials, doing lots of IGTVs with the influencers talking about, the future of digital collectibles and why, these type of fans would want to support their influencers. And I think the influencers, even in my classes, I've given an assignment yesterday where I asked my students, I give them a fake scenario saying, you work for Digital Twin, please recommend an influencer and create a Web 2.5 brand activation campaign for the platform. So it really depends who I'm talking to. Like if I'm talking to the master's level, it's a different ballgame. We're talking about existing heritage brands like Dior and Valentino and Louis Vuitton, whatever it is. But when it comes to other types of brands like digital agencies or working with influencers and communities, it's much more about Web 2, Web 2.5. So yeah, I am using, Instagram and all the traditional kind of social medias. No, we don't have a Discord at the moment. We just use Instagram. So we're at the very, very beginning. But yeah, it's really about edutainment via Instagram and social media or Web 2 social media sites, and not mentioning anything about NFTs. You'll never hear me talk about an NFT. It'll be digital collectibles and why. It's like fandom or OnlyFans or that kind of vibe. So yeah, it's very much Web 2, but it's got that Web 2.5 value add with the digital collectibles. So again, it really depends and who the audience is and what brand I'm working for at that time. But yes, I definitely, bring in all the Web3 elements, retail, innovation into my classes. So I suppose I'm very lucky because I get access to Gen Z through my classes.
No, absolutely, Paula. I think some of the points that you bring up are really brilliant. So number one is, avoiding to use those jargons and those terms, because many a times NFT has been misused, and we have seen what has happened to NFTs typically. When people really relate it to all the rug pulls and the way prices have gone down from 90% by about 90% and things like that. So there is always that image in their minds many a times, which actually brings them into the wrong space when you don't want them to go there. So it's absolutely great to not use those terms actually anymore. And I think eventually we will forget using NFTs and all these terms, and they'll just disappear into the past. And we will just use collectibles or wearables or some digital assets or some other thing in the future. The other thing I also encourage typically when I'm talking to brands and folks actually who need to be educated and folks who will be actually taking decisions for their brands is to, number one, is to get their own hands dirty and experience this firsthand. So they need to do it DIY, basically. It's all DIY right now. So why is it that you don't want your customer to go through the process of setting up a MetaMask wallet or any other wallet? You need to first experience it yourself, and you will immediately understand as to why you don't want to do that for your customers. So that's number one. The other is I actually encourage them to go and immerse themselves maybe into a few metaverses, engage with what's going on, and try and understand three things basically. One is what are the behaviors in Web3 and how are they really different from Web 2? What are the etiquettes? Now, that has also become a huge area and a huge area of impact and influence typically in how brands approach their initiatives into Web3. So what are those behaviors? What are their etiquettes? And also the value systems typically what exist in Web 2, they tend to be a little different from Web 3. So there are certain things which are acceptable in Web 3 which probably are not in Web 2. Now, that might have to do with anonymity or pseudonymity or whatever that might be. But then that is a reality in life today. So as a brand, you really need to, or a brand manager or an owner, you really need to immerse yourself into those experiences, understand it firsthand, align it with your own brand values and your customer expectations, and then build strategy on that. So yeah, that's my discussion with a lot of folks.
Awesome. I just want to jump in and so just with it, again, I agree about whether it be called a collectible or a membership. The two things to also consider when you're walking into that space that you can offer, even if you are a global brand or a national or a startup, but the idea of giving your holders, your community, the ability to earn a royalty is phenomenal. And then again, you might do a spin-off of a product and then offer fractional ownership. That's part of the creator economy mindset. And it's really, really powerful. It's not as complicated as people think to do that. But the upside is phenomenal because now you've got a community that they're invested in your business because they feel like they don't just feel like they're a part of it, that they partly own it and that your success is their success. And it's a beautiful thing.
Well, I think that's the end product of a loyalty program, right, or a loyalty membership is an NFT, is a digital collectible that you do own. I'd love to throw it to the audience for the last 10 minutes to come up, ask a question. Ivan, if you can accept anyone that has their hand up. If you do have a question directly to somebody, please point them out. Otherwise, feel free to pass it to the whole panel. If you don't want to talk, feel free to write it. If you hit the 3 dots, event details, and you can comment, and I'll read it out from there. But let's spend the last 10 minutes. To Josiah, TM. Josiah, can you hear us? Maybe not. Whilst I haven't accepted anyone that has their hand up, to the panel, in terms of loyalty membership, I guess incentivization to keep that person in your community as a brand, how are you guys doing that? I mean, you're onboarding them, they're in the platform, they're purchasing digital items, they're purchasing an AO Meta Ball, but what are you guys doing to keep that community there?
Well, we just started. So when you buy a Fidgetal NFT from Dr. Robin, you get access to free cooking, nutrition tips and that kind of thing. So our first collection was an athleisure on-demand collection. So when you join the loyalty program, you get a free digital collectible, and then you get access to other types of content. But we're still refining exactly, what our members would want long term. So I suppose it's kind of like Patreon or fandom. So cooking classes, nutrition facts, discounts for the next collections. And then when we integrate more of a Web3 vibe, you'll be able to vote then on what influencer you want to have clothing made, or maybe you want to add this button or add that color and so on. So it's a type of long-term, we're going out to the community and we're saying, right, guys, who's your favorite influencer? And, what are they about? Like Dr. Robin is all about sustainability and future-proofing and that kind of thing. So, when we did do a poll and people said we'd like a collection from this influencer because we think, she's all about sustainability and future-proofing. So I suppose for us, end game for us really is to go to the community and ask them, which influencer do you like? Or go to the influencer community and say, listen, we're going to create, these on-demand fashion products for you that are made on digital printing, which is much more sustainable. So the voting rights to what kind of clothing is made, discounts on future collections, calling in creators, all those kind of things. We'll have those type of interoperability in the future for us. So that's how we would engage. And of course, I give free classes then on, design and how to set up your own brand. Because remember, I'm not a fashion designer, I'm a fashion marketer and strategist. So having someone like Fidgetal Twin around, or, giving me access to a platform where I can create my own collection on demand is quite exciting, because I don't need the capital to set up my own fashion brand. I don't need to be a fashion designer. It's kind of like the democratization of fashion, if that makes sense. So that's what we're excited about, and that's how we engage with our future community.
I'd love to add to that.
Sorry, you go, Beth.
Are you sure? I'll just be really quick. I think another thing to add would be, for those that do have a digital collectible, NFT, whatever they've purchased, whether it's, a physical product that's got a digital twin online that you can use, but access to events. So NFT holders, I know we won't call them NFT holders, but access to unique events, making the community feel, as though they're part of like an exclusive set of customers. And also my second point was kind of moving further on from what Paula said around personalization and the ability to create products in tandem with maybe other creators in the community. If you see Nike Swoosh and what they're doing, they are trying to encourage people to work together to create new products. But I think that could play a huge role in the future of brand loyalty schemes.
Yeah, Paula,
absolutely. I'm also online, guys, if you...
Oh, yeah, it sounds like we've got Josiah now. I'll make one quick point just around Paula and her point around asking the audience what they want, or asking the consumer what they want. That's what we do in everyday business. And I think when we talk about holding an event like the AO or running multiple tennis tournaments or entertainment events, we survey the consumer as a marketer and as an advertiser to what they want, what they're expecting for what they're paying and what they're getting for what they're paying. And I think the fact that you guys are asking your consumer what their expectations are is the perfect step for a brand. I think there's too many Web3 projects out there that have been created by people who believe they know what the consumer wants, but actually have no idea what the consumer wants. So I think for brands that are going into this space, talking to your consumer like you would talk to them in any other way in your normal commercial business absolutely makes sense in this space.
Just one more quick point there. I think another aspect that brands are actually now using to create that engagement is to create those money can't buy experiences, which only become available when you reach a certain tier, or there is already a scarcity built in because of the way the tokens are done or the digital assets that are given out. So those money can't buy experiences actually also not only keep the customers engaged for a longer period of time, but then they build that affinity for that brand itself, and they own that piece of that digital ownership of that brand continues into perpetuity.
Josiah, that is you, my friend. Jump in.
Awesome, thanks. So everyone, my name is Josiah. I started a platform called D-Store Network, which we're building in the Polkadot ecosystem and helping brands expand into Web3 and targeting specifically DAOs at this stage. I've also expanding my own brand into Web3. So I'm doing opals. I've got an opal mine in southwest Queensland, and I'm actually on Discovery Channel, which goes live in 4 minutes. So it's like the premiere of the series. It's an 8-series episode, which feature my whole story and then building the platform and selling opal in the metaverse, which is quite exciting. Look, I'm an advocate for digital assets and I guess where the tech's going. At the moment, our platform, we're working with like multi-resource NFTs. So for the digital twin, that means you can have, product information, MP4s, all sorts of different digital assets that can be coupled together as one NFT. And that means that, from a creator's perspective, you can release, as a opal miner, I've got jewelry. So I deal with jewelers, and jewelers can now upload the story of the creation of the product that's coupled with the 3D scan of the product, along with, receipts and all sorts of information. And I'm really excited by this because it allows us to add value to products more than just being metaverse compatible, but we can actually transfer emotional values into products. And that comes in the form of if you were to, marry someone. I know there's, Valentine's Day recently, we were having a bit of a laugh about on-chain proposals and stuff, but, you can actually, send a digital ring to your future loved one or your loved one and have the whole story of that stone and the jewelry and the craftsmanship that go with it transfer with the product. And that's the beauty of the digitization and multi-resource NFTs, which is all coupled together. It's like this crazy convergence of technology we're seeing right now, where it's just sort of a bit overwhelming and hard to explain. But
That's pretty exciting. I think you should look at Bulgari if you are not familiar with what they're doing already. Something similar. That's pretty awesome. Have a look at it if you get a chance.
Bulgari, and what chain are they building on?
I am not sure about the chain because they also don't talk much about technology itself. But then I was just listening to one of the podcasts where the chief of innovation was talking about that, and he was talking about the specific piece of jewelry which is right at the pinnacle of their product assortment, and how they're building experiences around that. It's something similar in terms of what you just mentioned, but pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's super crazy. We've just integrated drop shipping into our protocol, so we start testing on behalf of Kusama, which is the Polkadot's Canary network, and distributing digital merchandise for them. The whole space is it's so overwhelmingly exciting.
The other one was similar. Only 10, so that was about 400,000. 400K a piece, only 10 were done, but then in terms of the experience, it was similar to what you just mentioned. People or the owner getting to actually experience the heritage, the development of it, the designs, the manufacturing process, and all of that.
Hey guys, we're kind of running out of time, but we'll go over a little bit. Just wanted to welcome Miles up.
Do it. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, bud. Miles, how are you, mate?
Hey, good. How is everyone?
Doing well. Sorry, Miles.
We're all great.
Before you jump in, Josiah, can you mute your mic? Just whilst you're...
Totally. Yeah.
Just legend. Jump in, Miles.
Cheers, Dan. Good to talk to you again, mate. Thanks, everyone, for being here as well. It's been a pretty interesting, varied panel. I know that we've all been very focused and sort of laying out the problems for the user journey at the moment and talking a little bit about where the tech's at. For a bit of fun, I'd actually really love to get everyone's sort of views on what success looks like 5-10 years down the line. Sort of all technology aspects being put aside, just for a bit of imagination behind everything. What would everybody be proud to have been a part of looking towards the future?
What an awesome question.
That's a good question.
Jump in, Ridley. You sound like a robot on my end, but jump in.
Oh, sorry.
Ridley, are you using your Nokia from 92 or something, mate? You sound horrible.
In 5 years, we do not. I mean, in 5 years, Ridley will probably sound like an AI robot. So, I mean, you're acting it out. I'm happy to start and kick off that answer. I mean, in 5 years, I would love to double-click my phone and purchase an NFT without the 30% Apple fee that exists on top. To be honest, if I could double-click my phone, purchase an NFT, and it's not a disgustingly 30% Apple fee on top. Who knows? Maybe we're going to be using a Solana phone or something like that. But that's success to me. It's so simple where you're ordering your Uber and you're getting, using backed Web3 technologies, things of that nature. What's everyone else's thoughts?
I think 5 years is a very, very long time in this world. Really, it's very, very difficult to predict. But I think I would agree with Daniel said. If you could do all the stuff on your phone, like you could do in Web2 today, and not even know what's going on at the back, but the experiences get multiplied in terms of product, in terms of the utilities that brands are able to deliver to you. I think we would have made a great and amazing progress by that time. And probably some nice AR glasses which actually work and actually augment your reality around you, and you're able to do a whole lot of stuff much more productively. I think that'll be awesome.
I think just a quick one for me, I think that alignment, I guess, between lots of different firms that own the technologies, so that we have a more fluid kind of transition. I think at the moment, like we've spoken about today, there's a lot of, terminology being thrown about, the correct terminology, but it's not, I want to say family friendly, but I don't mean that. I mean, layman's terms, so that it's more inclusive. I think give it 5 years and we might be referring to it as Web3, but I think we'll be, at that point, consumers will have realised that the ones that don't currently understand, the older generations that maybe aren't so techy, will have more of an understanding of the tech and what it's capable of doing. I think as brands start to sell in the benefits more, and, look here, you can be a part of this community, you can provide us with product feedback, have exclusive demos of products before they launch, have a more personalised experience, blah, blah, blah. I think it'll become natural and a more fluid part of our kind of life. But we've just got to get to that point first with mass adoption, and I guess the way forward for that is for brands to adopt it and then educate their customers.
Fantastic. I think that's a perfect way to wrap up the show. Everyone, every Thursday, every second Thursday, we host these LinkedIn audio spaces. If you'd like to speak on these, if you feel like you have some type of values that you'd love to bring to the space or any questions, feel free to DM myself or Ivan. Happy to have you on, put you on the roster and bring the community value, because at the end of the day, we are all learning from each other. It's still super early. No one knows what they're doing. We're all figuring it out and just testing new things. And I feel like if we can exchange that, if we can collaborate with each other, then that's how we all are going to grow. I'll pass it to Ivan to close out the space. But everyone, speakers, thank you so much for jumping in. Thank you for listening today. And keen to have you guys on for future episodes. Ivan, feel free to close out the space, my friend.
Sure, I don't know this guy. I know exactly what I'm doing. And that's very much moving forward with I want to lead into that question. For me, it's about building an ecosystem where community get to benefit from all the clever technology that does come our way through Web3 into their experience, and then having an ability to vote for something that you love. So you're rewarding good behavior, because there's a lot of noise online and there's negativity and people get voted and cancelled for a lot of time for bad shit. So I want to be able to have a platform where people can vote on shit they love. Therefore, what rises to the top is awesomeness, and that's the behavior I want to reward and play with. But yeah, listen, thank you everyone. Please follow people on the panel. If you've got a question, please always ask. There's no such thing as a dumb question, because quite often they're the good ones. So, here to help if you need it, and if not, do you and have a fucking awesome life, and goodbye. Peace out.
Peace, everyone. I'll play some background music while everyone tunes into the rest of their day or rest of their night.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.